like to call on stage Mr. Segun Awolowo, the Executive Secretary, CEO for Nigeria Export Promotion Council, for his own insights.
Executive Officer of Nigerian Export Promotion Council. And we are talking on, we are looking at the readiness for trade and market access, configuring for export, looking at the product price, place, and promotion. Unfortunately, he is unavoidably absent because of some other important assignment. And going through the slides, I'll just see how quickly we can run through the slides. Please, let's next slide. That's the introduction. Go to the next slide. That's the vision of NEPC, to make Nigeria a marketplace for goods and service, to make the world a marketplace for Nigerian products. I beg your pardon. Then our mission is to spearhead the diversification of Nigerian economy by expanding and increasing non-oil export for sustainable and inclusive growth. In the past few years, we have had growth in our non-export trends, and it's been encouraging, and we are achieving through our promotional efforts. Next slide. That's our core responsibility, to promote the development and diversification of Nigerian export trade, to assist in promoting the development of export-related industries in Nigeria, to spearhead the creation of appropriate export incentives, and to actively articulate and promote the implementation of export policies and programs for the Nigerian government. Next slide. Thank you. Now, this is Nigeria became, a member of one of the African countries that ratified the AfCFTA, and the AfCFTA is to deepen integration of the African continent by creating a single continental market, blah, blah, blah. We want to see how we can achieve inclusive growth, sustainable development among the African regions, then economic integration of the continent. Next slide, please. Export readiness. That is where the technical aspect actually comes to play. In determining your export readiness, you try to find out, what do I have to do? It's almost like an export check, this document. What do I have to do? Who do I have to meet? What's my product? Are they manufactured? Are they semi-manufactured? Are they raw commodities? Am I a member of or am I a merchant? Am I a member of the OPS, the chambers? Of course, the doctor that just presented is from the LCCI. Am I a member of NAC or others? How relevant are they to my objective of exporting under AfCFTA? Or are any other destinations of exports? Now, let me look at the third point there. My products manufactured, semi-manufactured, or raw commodities. Now, prior to now, we have thrived in exporting raw commodities, and raw commodities, from her presentation just now, has not been very advantageous to us. It has served more or less as a disadvantage. We export raw cocoa, and it comes back to us in chocolates and other beverages. So, and when you're exporting raw cocoa, you discover that you have so many other derivatives. But you export the raw cocoa, and in the long run, you just have, stipends as your reward for exporting raw commodities. But in the long run, the people who are re-exporting it back to us in different forms are going to have so much advantage. So we are trying to promote the development of our product. Another thing that we have to understand from that is that when you export raw commodities, you are creating jobs for the other people and reducing our job creation opportunities here. In fact, you are making more people more unemployed. And before you can export, of course, you must be a registered exporter. Do you have a product that you want to export? And things like that. So in the long run, we are trying to promote the export of manufactured product, not just raw commodities, so that we're able to create job employment, and many more small businesses are going to be created. Many more employments are going to be generated through the creation of businesses in the different value chain of the production. How relevant, what's the my destination of export? Now we are looking at the African Continental Free Trade Area. Then we are talking about certification. In certifying your product, how acceptable are my products, among other nations? And if my product is going to compete with other people are, getting certified, they are achieving so much in terms of certification, and you are just coming with your product, and you discover that there are so many aflatoxins and so many other things that may impede or affect your product negatively, you are going to face rejection. You are going to be creating problems for other people who are going to export products. Like now, we discovered that when Nigerian products get abroad, sometimes, especially in the Netherlands, they separate Nigerian products. They are going to open all your products, spread it, and cross-check, double-check. But other people, they can select one or two other products, and once they meet the requirements, they pass. But we've been having challenges with so many issues of impurities, non-certification, and a lot of it. The advantage of going further to add value to your product is that it reduces the challenges of impurities that we discover in raw commodities, the aflatoxins issue, and other such impurities that may come up. So manufacturing your product or adding value to it improves your chances of your product being accepted in the international market. The next slide, please. Can my products compete with other products under the schedule of AfCFTA? Are my products organic or inorganic? What packaging materials are relevant to my destination of export? How do I source for funds? Funding is a major challenge. In one of my schedules in Port Harcourt, so many people were ready to export, and they come to me, I need money. And they have issues of getting funds, because for the bank to give you money, you must put your act in order. And interestingly, if you are going to export, the bank will not give you money if you are just starting your export business. It will be difficult for you to find funds unless you know the bank manager very well. But other people will just come, I want to export, and you have not tested the waters prior to then. You may find it very, very difficult. So you must have experience. It's just like somebody giving a novice, an assignment, like a driver. The person is trying to learn driving, and you ask him, come and drive me. That's a risk. Yeah, that's an accident waiting to happen. So for the bank to give you money, you must have tested the waters. You must have done prior exports. While so many people were being rejected, I had an exporter who came, and because he had done one export and he had passed through rough waters, banks were looking for him to give him money. What packaging materials are relevant to my destination of export? We discovered that there are materials that are acceptable in certain countries, while there are materials that are no longer in use in those countries when you are doing exports. Am I familiar with the transportation system, X-Works, FOB, blah, blah, blah? There are so many things so many forms of exporting your product when you come to shipping. Other payment terms. What are the payment terms that I'm going to use? Am I familiar with the laws guiding the receiver's location, as well as meeting the legal requirements domiciled at my location of origin? In this last point here, am I familiar with the laws? Some people did some exports to the UK, and all their products were rejected because there was a new law that was introduced prior to then. The laws changed. Now every country adopts laws that are, suitable to them. And you don't just consider just the ones that are suitable to you alone. When you consider the laws that are suitable to you, you have to do your own research to find out what is suitable to the other country, the laws that are guiding their export process. Then, am I familiar with the custom terms? What are the custom procedures? When you do export, definitely the customs are very, very important. Very, very important. You cannot export without the customs. Next slide, please. Market access. This shows how ready you are to be competitive with your product to gain market share of your target market and consolidate your hold on the market and possibly expand your share of the market. If I'm going to export, I'm bringing my product into a new market. Now I have to do some investigation or research to find out what products that are already playing in that market. Now coming into that market, what is my target of the market share? Of course, you are coming with something different. What will make consumers prefer my product to that of competitors? If I already have people, let's assume you are doing bottled water. If I'm bringing bottled water into that market, now what is the status of the present bottled waters, sellers in that market locally? Because they're going to be competing with local people and other, possible exporters to that same market. What is the attraction to my product to that market that will make customers to prefer my product to those that are already existing in the market? Competitiveness show how ready you are with your product to compete with other products. You could either be a new entrant or an already existing product in that market and be competing with other products that are existing in that market. This can be achieved through your product, price, place, promotional strategy adopted to win the heart and minds of consumers to your product. For you to successfully compete, of course, these 4 modules, product, price, place, promotion, will be very, very, very relevant. Next slide, please. Product. Of course, a product is anything that consumers need and want and can be paid for. The exporter should ask himself, what product do I have to offer? What problem is the product solving? Is it acceptable to the consumer in terms of the solution it is bringing? If you take your product to the wrong place, of course, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be rejected. Apart from the initial certification that I need to give to my product, if after meeting those certifications and it's the wrong product at the wrong place, it's like you're going to sell pork in the north, or of course you know what's going to happen to that product. Nobody's going to buy it, and vice versa. So, is it acceptable to consumer in terms of the solution it is bringing? What are the relevant laws governing the use and purchase of the product? Each country has several laws governing products that are coming into their country. Are the products harmful to the environment? Is it harmful to the health of the people? Is it acceptable to the people? What's my target market? Who am I looking to sell those products to? We have to know the relevant laws governing the purchase and the use of that product. What are the laws governing the production of that product? What do I need to do? Like, there was a time in Nigeria when the federal government said you add 10% cassava flour to wheat flour in producing your bread. There was a time like that. So at that particular point, that law became very relevant to that product. What are the advantages of selling the product in that location? What are the advantages? What is it achieving in that place? What other value or utility is it going to bring to the people who are going to buy that product? Who are those that are producing the same product at the present location of my interest? And how consistent will the product be made available to consumers, sourcing my raw materials, cost of production, and other miscellaneous involved in production? Now, you introduce a product to a foreign country and you don't consistently follow up in terms of the supply of that product. I met somebody some time ago who wanted to, take his product to a country, and he had already taken it previously, and people had, interest in that product. But because he stopped, the continuation of that product in terms of bringing it to that export market, he lost, lot of customers. And whether we like it or not, the money you're going to make selling your product in that location is not going to be the same as compared to selling your product locally. I'm just trying to look at the basics of exporting your product. Now, if you sell your product in Nigeria, you may sell for 50 naira, and if you take it abroad and you are selling for $50, of course the margin of difference is not the same. It's very massive. Of course, you're going to enjoy more money in terms of exporting your product abroad. Now, if I'm going to take my product to a specific location from country A to country B, looking at those other, competitors in country B, what are they doing? What is the value of their product in that location? For me to be able to compete effectively with them, there must be specific things that I'm going to introduce to those products, because we are looking at competing with other products in the aftermarket. For us to compete very effectively, well, let's assume that we're taking products from Nigeria to Ghana. Why would people prefer my products from Nigeria to that is from Ghana? Why would they prefer my product? What are the things that I can get? What are the things they can get from my product that is not in the product that already existing in Ghana? What are the advantages my product is going to bring to consumers when they buy my product? Next slide, please. In a product, I forgot to say that the certification is very, very valuable. Certification. Organic as against inorganic. Most products we have presently, they are inorganic, but the world is tending towards organic. We discovered that the market trend is changing in terms of what people consume. People are more aware of what they consume now as compared to previous eras, where people just go to the market, buy anything, and they just, take it home. Now people want to look at where's the product coming, what are the things that were used to produce that product, how does it affect the environment, how does it affect, X and Y and this and that and that. So the consumer information is improving. So we as a people, for us to compete with other countries in the African market, first of all, in the aftermarket, we must create that advantage by giving consumers a high standard quality product that will attract them to our products. What's the price? The exporter needs to ask what's the current break-even price for me to achieve profitability if I'm going to another country, considering my cost of production here and transportation, put all the costs together. Is my price per unit competing favorably with products of same quality and value? What are the strategy for fixing my price? What advantage is my price strategy giving my products in the market? Like now, two products are there competing, and one is selling for 100 naira, and you want to come at that same price. Of course, you're going to be disadvantaged. You must come with an attraction, maybe an odd sale or a giveaway or something like that to attract your customers. What is the impact of the world commodity price on my product and source of raw materials? What other market tools do I have to fix my price and stay competitive? The impact of exchange rate and inflation, especially in your domicile country. What's the impact of the exchange rate? What's the impact of inflation and other economic trends? The effect of demand and supply and other variables that could impact the products, such as government policies, laws, and regulation. Next slide, please. This is getting my product to the right place at the right time. There are so many factors that affect right place and the right time. If you go and sell cold water in Norway, I'm sure you'll come back with your product intact. But if you go to sell, cold water in Sahara Desert or a place where it's dry and hot, of course you are going to sell your product fast. What distribution channel are in place to achieve the objective of getting my product to their destination and location quickly? What challenges and blockages are there to the channels What are the possible solutions to these channels? What laws are helping us to achieve our objectives and which are creating obstacles to our distribution network? Whether we agree to it or not, there are certain things, certain factors that affect your distribution channel, locally and externally. What are the various enforcement agencies in place that could jettison or aid our distribution activities? In Nigeria now, you bring in your product from another country, of course you must go through NAFDAC. And that's the same applicable Nigerian products going to other countries. So these agencies and law enforcement agencies are in place. What are the sanitary and the phytosanitary conditions that could affect my product? Next slide. Promotional. You're introducing a product. Of course, you need to do some advertisement. Advert is part of promotional strategy. Giveaways, such other things are promotional strategies that could introduce your product or make people come and take notice of your product. Are we together? Now, next slide. My time is up. The FCA presents a lot of opportunities to Nigeria exporters to compete with products from other African countries in a market that has over a billion people. We must, as Nigerian exporters, put our acts together to be able to compete favorably with other products in this market. We cannot give excuses. If we fail to compete, competitiveness is like a game of sports and the winner takes it all. There are no prizes for losers. What AfCFTA presents is an avenue for prosperity. Nigeria has one of the biggest markets in Africa. With our entrepreneurship, we have what it takes to not only be competitive but also to dominate. This can only be achieved if we put the right squares in the right hole. By this, we must overcome mediocrity and shortcuts to achieve our status as the giant of Africa. Now, this one is making us to understand that if there are 5 products from other countries and Nigeria is competing with 5 other products, it means we have to put our act right to be able to get our products to the right place at the right time. And what are we doing to make our product compete globally? And you know the size of our population. You bring in anything and our consumption pattern is that people are attracted to foreign products in Nigeria. But we are trying to see how we can not just enjoy what we have, but also take it globally. There's an exporter that, takes our normal food, our local food, gari, fish, oil, everything we produce, it takes it to the US. And the young man is doing very, very well in the US market, taking our products. And that is how we are looking that we can compete globally with other products under the AfCFTA schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was very brilliantly sold. And I'm hoping that some of the valid questions that would be point of discussions for the breakout sessions that we would have. A very important personality in the room, an agency in the room, I might say, is the Nigerian Customs Service. And one of the key things for making AfCFTA work is the rules of origin. In the absence of it, according to the UN Conference on Trade and Development, AfCFTA would not work. And some of the recommendations that have come through is ensuring that the rules of origin are simple to go by and easy to comply with. What does that mean? It just means that if you're able to meet certain standards as dictated by the rules of origin, when those products are exported, there will be no duties in the countries receiving them. To make sure that these products are very competitive, it means we must pass that test. Otherwise, we stand, to lose to other markets who have met those rules of origin and now gain the advantage of the duty liberation. We would be stuck with our goods here. So we really need to get to that point where we understand how the NCS will play a major role in ensuring that these goods that we produce meet those requirements, and what exactly is the NCS doing about it. Following that, we would look at the export certifications, which the NEPC has very brilliantly highlighted here. So I'll start off first with our representative from the NCS so that he can take us through his very insightful presentation on how the NCS will play a very pivotal role in opening up the export market in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Please let's give him a round of applause as he comes to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start on existing protocol and then proceed. I stand in for the Controller General of Customs. He could not make it to this place, and so he has sent me. My name is Anthony Ayalogu. I'm the Controller Trade Facilitation and Preferential Trade Units in the Nigeria Customs Headquarters. Sorry, I do not have a slide. It was a very short notice. I thought the CG would be doing this, and I could not get the slides for this presentation. But I will try as much as possible to speak to the topic in a way that we will understand it, and so that at the end of it, we will also take questions and make it more clear. Now, talking about market access and the readiness for it, we must also try to understand actually what we talk about when we talk about market access, what it actually is. Here we see it as product access to the African markets. How do our products enter and meet with the criteria for the African markets, enjoying the preferential tariff that's attached to it. There are many criteria to this access. It is not only the rules of origin. We have to know that different regions of Africa have what we call the tariff offer. Even when you meet the criteria for rules of origin, again you need to meet the tariff offers of different countries, so you can also assess them. We also have the quality infrastructure, which is the standards. Again, some people are on that, and I believe that they will be able to throw light on this. We also aware of the one I'm going to talk about, the rules of origin, which is the set of criteria to determine whether that product meets with the requirements to assess the market. We are very aware that apart from assessing the market, we will also assess that market in costs in order to be competitive with other products, similar products in the African country. And that is why we in customs are trying as much as possible to make sure that the cost of the trade across the border is very reduced, both in cost and in time. Now, talking about the rules of origin. Rules of origin, like I said before, are the criteria that will meet in order for us to enjoy the preferential tariff, so we can export our goods to AfTA without the payment of duty. For AfTA, the rules of origin is a little more complex than what we used to know in ETLS, and this is because there are a lot of concerns for different regions and different countries, and so it is more HS code specific. It is not a general rules of origin, it is a specific rules of origin that is specific to our code. That is different goods and products have different criteria, and so that is where the complexity comes. But generally, they are we already have gotten a table where all these rules, the criteria have been itemized specific to the harmonized systems code. Now, let's talk about generally what the rules of origin are. Now, there are just two basic broad that processed goods, the raw material and the processing are done in Nigeria. When we have that, we also call it wholly obtained. Means that everything is obtained from Nigeria. The other broad group is what we call the substantial transformation. The goods that have undergone substantial transformation. In this very category, we have three, it is divided into three. We ever talk about value transformation. These are goods that come from the third country. That goods that come from outside Africa that will be sold in Africa within the aspects of AfCFTA. Now, these goods that are coming from foreign will need to be processed or transformed, and the rule tells us how the transformation will be done in order to meet with the criteria. There are basically just three. One is value transformation. The value of the items must be in accordance with a percentage of the non-originating material. Like this, here again, it is not specific to a percentage. Some percentages are 40, others are 60, others are 40%, depending on the product we are talking about. But whatever is assigned to that product, you must meet it. And when we talk about non-originating materials, we are talking about materials that come from outside our continent, talking about Africa. Now, like I said, it is not specific. It is within every product has got its own percentage, and then that is for value. The second one is change in tariff nomenclature. In customs, we categorize products into codes. So there are what we call the harmonized systems nomenclature. This is a criteria. This is a code that we use to identify products. Now, the rule here is that the product must move from one code heading to the other. And so, what does that really mean? If you bring in textile and then you turn them into suits, the textile is of a different HS code, and when it becomes a jacket or a suit, that HS code has changed. And so if you have done that change, then that product qualifies as a rule to enter the market if that is the criteria specified for that product. Again, there are many things, like if there's an industry and you are bringing in and the industry is doing shower cap, for instance, I know to do this shower cap, if you are bringing in shower cap, you are producing shower cap, and then you bring in your products all from outside, and you're able to add the rubber band, you add the rubber band, the plastic sheets, and then you sew into a shower cap. That shower cap is made in Nigeria because you have transformed the HS code. And so this is exactly what we talk about, change in tariff nomenclature. Again, the third one is that there are certain processes that have been assigned to in AfTA that are acceptable as processes that may not have made the value or the tariff change, but will ascribe nationality to a product. For instance, if you imported precious stone and you have an industry that will polish this precious stone, it's allowed that precious stone polished in Nigeria but not gotten from Nigeria has automatically become a made in Nigerian precious stone. And so this is just it. We have some special processes, processes that have been outlined that will not ascribe, even if you meet the value, nationality to a product. Example, if you do packing, like you begin rice, you from 50 kg bag, you cut them into 10 kg, they will not make it made in that country. If you bring in any pressing, straightening, maybe you bring in clothes that were not ironed, and you iron them and package them, that does not make them made in that country. And this is exactly what these rules, this one does. Even though you value of the value you had used in pressing that iron, everything is more than the threshold, it will still not meet it. You must, those ones are removed. Repackaging, repackaging it, pressing, ironing, straightening, all these ones are not, and those lists of all these are available in our annex. So when you do those things, it's not allowed. This is really what we entailed in rules of origin. Like I said, I cannot specifically tell you that this is what is meant for this HS code until you have seen the list. But in customs, what we have done is that on our website, we are still waiting for the confirmation for it to roll. If you know the HS code of a product and you type in the product, it will tell you automatically the rules of origin for that very product. And that is talking about www.customs.gov.ng. If you go to that, there is a site where you input a product, it will give you the AfCFTA rules of origin for that product. And that is the only place you can go to know the specific rules for specific products. Now, knowing that here we have representatives from different states, and again talking about state involvement in AfCFTA, we also have to, at this point, ask the different state representatives to consider what they have as products in their states. Look at the rules of origin and see the one that the best fits the product within their region. You have many times we have problems in customs, and these problems are sometimes coming from the states. Some states are producing rubber, for instance, and rubber that is not processed cannot be exported. It is export prohibition. And so you come with rubber and you go to the ports and the customs officer says you can't export it. And again, it comes again back to us, and we are being told that we are not allowing exports for them to have and to get the required foreign exchange. But this is policy. Foreign, we have export prohibitions. And when we have these prohibitions, you must know them and make sure that what you export does not fall within these products. If it has to be processed, you should know what type of processes will be carried out on this product so that you'll be able to export freely. Not only, like I'm just putting rubber as an example, you also find that timber, some states have got large quantities of timber. Some people go to them, cut them, load them in trailers and want to export them. Like I said before, the custom is aware of the fact that for our product to be competitive outside this country, we need to do one thing, and that is trade facilitation, both as the goods come in and when they go out. If the cost of trade across the border is increased, it will result all the gains of low price production within the country. If you have to come out to trade in an open market with other African countries, the cost of your products must be comparatively competitive for you to make gains. Now, if everything you have done in your states and also in your factory has made it very competitive, the process across the border must also will not make it very expensive. There must, across the border, it has to be cheap, it has to be fast. We in Nigerian Customs Service know this, and that is why we have introduced a digital platform for processing of imports and exports, so that with your self-declaration, with your self-assessment, with automated process, you could pass to the route of the trade across the border very fast, effective, and very cheap. We have just rolled out the NAC-AfCFTA. The NAC-AfCFTA gives appendage for other agencies to anchor to us in a way similar to a single window, whereby you do everything at the closet of your house. We interact with other agencies also at their own offices without getting them to come around, so that the time that will have been used for physical contact will have been eliminated. The problem we have here is some of our agencies that also we interact with are not automated enough to be connected to us. If everybody is connected to us, we also want to connect to every state government. That's why we say on our platform, you could look at what we do and know exactly what process you can do. We have made it that open. You don't need to come to customs. All what you need to do is to interact with our platform. We also believe that we should go further than that, because it's not only about bringing out a certificate of origin that will make our products able to comply with AfCFTA. We also believe that communicating these certificates digitally will reduce forgery. And so what that means, amongst African countries, we are trying to have a connectivity that will allow us to see what certificates Kenyans have given. And also Kenyans or South African will be able to know the kind of certificate we are giving without relying on this paper certificate. In order to do that, we are also trying to expand and improve and upgrade our present platform. And so customs is going into what we call an e-customs. And that will be the best in Africa. For now, of all the countries in Africa, including South Africa, Nigeria Customs Service possesses the best digital systems in customs administration. But that is not still enough for us, and we want to go higher, because tomorrow, in trying to meet the complexities of international trade, we could also connect to other countries with higher versions, and so we want to have the highest of the versions. And so more than $3 billion is in the projects of e-customs to make sure, and we are with the best hands, the way to be able to bring out e-customs that will make our processes cost effective and also fast. We believe that corruption is not about catching them, it's about making it impossible. Thank you.
I think all of this, sorry, let me just confirm, all of these things you mentioned about NCS, are they already fully implemented, or is there a time frame? Is there a time frame for full implementation?
NAC-AfCFTA is working, and that's the one we have just rolled out last year. In 4 years' time, e-customs will roll out. So already the contractors are working, and we are all, like I told you, the whole customs stations in all the border points are connected. They can see each other. We don't need to get to the borders to know what they are doing. I don't even need to get to my office to know what trade facilitation is happening in all the border points in Nigeria. With my phone, I'm connected to everyone.
So we don't have any gridlock when it comes to the interaction between them. One of the challenges that was identified from a PwC report done for the Presidential Enabling Business Environmental Council was around cost of compliance for SMEs, some of the bottlenecks with agencies, and in some cases repetitive inspections, and also demand for bribe. So it will be very interesting to just get your thoughts, and views from NAFDAC on what we're doing to reduce these challenges, because it's a bigger world out there with AfCFTA. We can't limit our interactions nationally anymore. We need to start thinking of the bigger picture, and I imagine that's a very big exercise. So I'll be very grateful if the representative from NAFDAC, Mrs. Kadiri Adimat, can share her views. I know you're pressed for time as well, so probably 5 minutes or so, if you can do that. I want to set the trend, so we're hearing more from you.
My name is Kadiri Halima. First of all, let me just convey the warm greeting of the Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, who is unaffordably absent here. It is a passion, because she has a passion for trade. She could have been here, but because of other national engagements, my unit has been directed to come and make this presentation. The presentation is actually from my immediate boss, Dr. Abimbola Adegboye, who is the Director of PRS and also the Head of Office of Trade and International Relations in NAFDAC. I have some objective for the presentation on what our connection is all about with AfCFTA, the NAFDAC operational support, and our readiness as well. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, was established with the Decree 15 of 1993, and which later be amended by Decree 19 of 1999. And the mandated us to regulate and control the manufacture, importation, exportation, distribution, sales and use of food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, detergents and packet water. The essence of regulation and control is to ensure or to protect the public health by ensuring that only the right, safe, quality, efficacious, wholesomeness, regulated products ultimately gets to the consumer. That is the essence of the regulation, because why do we have to regulate? Things can just come in and consumer can just procure or purchase any goods and use. But it is important just for us to ensure that the public health is actually protected. And we have various ways whereby this regulation and control is being carried out. Is by product registration, meaning if anything is being produced, you have to get it registered by NAFDAC. And part of it is we carry out inspection of production facility to ensure what they are doing. And our port inspectorate, where we have import and export of goods being coming in and going out, is being monitored. The ultimate of it is the laboratory evaluation, which makes us to make pronouncements on the quality of the product as well. Then another one is what we call post-marketing surveillance. Apart from being registered, we go to carry out surveillance of what a customer has been registered before, and again investigation, because in most cases we have cases of investigation where it gets to enforcement and prosecution as well. The market of AfCFTA, like every other person have said, is to create a single continental market for goods and services. And in NAFDAC, we agree with the objective, and the ultimate objective of AfCFTA is to eliminate or reduction of all tariff on goods and services. All non-tariff barriers on goods and services as well. NAFDAC operational support. We have a staff strength about 2,500 across the nation, and we have 7 quality control laboratories across the nation as well. In NAFDAC now, the current leadership has increased our directorate from initial 13, 12 to 18 because there is a need for it. And again, we have our zona offices as well, including in FCT and Lagos State. Like I said, we are present in all the 36 states of the Federation, including FCT, and also in all seaports and terminals, 5 airports, land borders. So we have all our ICT in all this. And again, the current leadership of the agency just established the Office of Trade and International Relations, which is my desk. This is to facilitate all the trade issues across all the regulatory products that NAFDAC regulates. NAFDAC is actively involved in the work stream of the AfCFTA. We are member of National Action Committee of AfCFTA and the Technical and Non-Barrier Monitoring Reduction, like which borders on rules of origin and trade rules enforcement. We have been actively involved coordinating relevant, the National Action Committee AfCFTA, as we all know, they coordinate all MDAs and stakeholders for implementation of intervention of trade readiness through the policies and programs and projects. But going to what has been our role in AfCFTA, what NAFDAC has done in AfCFTA. The issue of rules of origin, determine nationality of a goods and product is very, very important. And we have data and record from NAFDAC established from inspection, registration and documentation, surveillance process that indicated clearly of the nationality of each product of its origin. Like I said, we are a strong member of ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, which has been ongoing for some of the indigenous companies in Nigeria that are willing to trade within the ECOWAS sub-region. But the coming of AfCFTA now, as we all know, it's a larger market that even consume ETLs within. So NAFDAC inspector at the port, we have digitalized all our process in such a way that the tools can help us to track and monitor what is the product that is going out and coming into the country. And we have engaged all our sisters agency to improve our export processing. I would like to mention here that there is no technical rules in NAFDAC without justification. All NAFDAC guidelines are subjected to review and input by stakeholders and trading partners. Not only stakeholders, but it also involve the trading partners. So what we do, all our regulation advisory are hosted on our they were posted on our website for customers, for indigenous companies to have access to. And again, the essence of trade facilitation to address the control of governing movement of goods across national borders. NAFDAC has continued deploy technologies, like I said, to simplify its border operation, and indeed, its operation to minimize person to person. We have what we call PIDCAM, Port Inspection Data Capture and Risk Management, whereby whatever you want to do, you can just do it online without intervention, without human involvement. So this platform has assisted us in the ports for people that are bringing in their goods to the country, and for exporters as well that intend to take their product out of the country. Still on our road, NAFDAC has, like I said, we have developed our regulations and checklists for inflow of. We have checklists explaining in detail for the justification for the procedure or requirements that is on the website. That is, you can easily access that. NAFDAC for years has consistent in the attendance of the participation of Codex Technica committee session. The Codex Alimentarius Committee is a larger committee that sets house standards for regulatory authorities, and what we use in NAFDAC is based on Codex Alimentarius standard. And again, in Nigeria, we're using the Nigeria Industrial Standard, which is with an harmonized international standard. The reason for this, when my brother from NAPC was talking, he did mention of the reason why we need to build quality on our product to avoid the issue of rejection in the international market. I want to share with you and to let you know that international markets only welcome goods and products of high quality. And why we have our product being rejected is because some of our exporters dodge away from what they need to do before they export. And by the time these products get to international markets, and it cannot, before you even enter, there are a lot of things that some of the country will assess, especially when it's coming from Nigeria. There's a strict compliance to our products, and we need to ensure that quality and standard is built in our product before we export out of the country, so as to minimize the issue of rejection of made in Nigerian products in the international market. Apart from that, NAFDAC regulates animal health protection products such as veterinary medicine, medicated feeds, and this borders on SPS. SPS is another certificate that is important for exporter that is willing to export out of Nigeria, because this will give you the basis. Once you have you are producing a regulated product, you need to have what we call sanitary and phytosanitary certificate and health certificate that will accompany your product to international market. And what we have also put in place, NAFDAC regulate pharma products, like I said, the pharmaceutical, food industry in all operation value chain. We make sure that industry are strong enough to qualify for the competition of AfCFTA, which we bring in terms of, what we do in terms of that is carrying out the good manufacturing practice to ensure standard, then quality management system in place, and technical document. Those are the tools that we use to ensure that the products are going out will be able to compete favorably with other products in the country, in other countries. Other incentives that will help the industry to competitive, such as tax incentive, export incentive, are being supported as cabinet of products policy making level. NAFDAC has we have upgraded our processing from manual to digital. Like I said, we have digitalized some of our products, some of our process. And again, we have quality management system in place to ensure that the products, the processing are actually in line and being enforced in line of the quality management system. We have adopted the policy that will reduce the timeline of our registration process, because there are a lot of feedback that days of registration in NAFDAC is taking so long. So a lot of processing has been adopted as a policy now to ensure that the timeline is reduced for manufacturers to be able to register their products. And another measures that we take on that is a post-marketing surveillance that I mentioned, so that it will enable us to follow up. NAFDAC has also developed the checklist, particularly for this AfCFTA, because we want to ensure that whatever that is coming in and going out are in line with what has been developed about. We have our laboratory, which is an ISO, so that most of the products that are coming to the country can be assessed, evaluate, and get to know the quality of that product. Another thing that we have established is the rules of origin. Like I mentioned, we are part of the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme. NAFDAC is training itself on AfCFTA to position them to be more productive. The agency is already on federal government single window of trade, which will enable trade facilitation. When my brother from custom mentioned that, because we were just waiting for other agencies to key in, but we have a process on ground now. As soon as the single window is enabled, I think we have what it takes to be on that. But even at now, we have put a measures in place so that whatever we want to do, you can just at the comfort of your home and get it done. Most of our process, like I said, on the rules of origin, we have process in place for that, and we have prevent transshipment of other country, whereby some products or some things will just come into the country and repackage, because like it's important that value is added to anything that is going on out of our country, so that we have prevent the transshipment of other country exporting to Africa or exporting to Nigeria. We quite understand that this discussion is very apt and timely, and we need to understand where our business are in the internationalization journey, assess whether our product or service are export or import ready. Because if you don't know what you are exporting or what the country you are exporting is actually looking for, then we are not doing anything. So we need to identify what is going on in that country before you start exporting. And again, it is important for us to know the standard requirements of the importing country that we are exporting to, so that by the time you are producing, the product will be able to meet the importing requirements and it will not face any rejection. We have established any skill gap in our businesses which may hold up our international process. We have also determined whether our current marketing channels and resources are suitable for international market as well. And we connect with specialized advice via our team, network partners who can help us grow our business internationally. So NAFDAC is well prepared to handle both inflow and outflow of NAFDAC regulated products in the international market. Trade along the ECOWAS is already ongoing, that is the ETLS I explained. But what we have done is we are equally ready to engage our counterparts body in other regions in Africa to ensure compliance. Then to be part of trade delegation to other African countries to find inroad for our products. Then promptly facilitate all our trade facilitation process without compromising safety and quality, because safety and quality is the bone of the contention of the regulated product that we're talking about. Thank you very much for listening.
Have you tried comparing that for Nigeria with other countries? And does NAFDAC stand a chance to shorten the period looking at best practices from other countries, so that we don't spend too much time in registration?
Thank you very much. Like I mentioned during the presentation, we have upgraded our process, our policy in such a way that the timeline for registration will be reduced. So that, because based on the feedback that the current leadership of NAFDAC received, probably it's taking longer time. And because of that, that is why most of the processing has been electronically now, and it has been digitalized. So it will not take longer time like before. Yes. You need the tariff? Okay, how much time? Initially, is like 30 working days, but there are some products within 2 weeks you get it done now.
Thank you very much, NAFDAC. I'm very grateful for your contributions. Please let's give a round of applause. I will just have the last agency to speak, the DG of the Nigerian National Accreditation System. Last but certainly not the least, it's a very, very important piece of the discussion. Welcome to the podium, sir.
Thank you, colleagues, co-panelists. Thank you to our guests from states. There is always advantage in coming last, sometime in occasion like this, but there's also disadvantage. I will use the advantage. The advantage is they've spoken about so many things I have on my slide, and so I'm going to fast track. the slides. The disadvantage is that some of you may be tired already, hearing the same language, the same story. But I'm going to challenge you to stay awake, because I prefer to speak to states than speak to the federal. Because every state is a mini nation of its own in this country. And if we can fix the state, we can fix this country. So, IT, please take me all the way to slide 15. But before then, I will provoke you a little bit. The governor said maybe the governor or the first presenter said all states are endowed. So, and that is the envy that Nigeria is having. Every nation is envious of Nigeria because no state is barren. But I will ask you, what can we celebrate about your own state? This is a question that you and me are supposed to be answering for our state when we assume any of these responsible offices that we hold on behalf of the people. Previous speakers said a few things that I wrote down as questions. Why are we exporting raw materials? Why is our goods being rejected overseas? What are the skills needed to transform our natural resources to finished products, which makes more money, which gives us greater value, and creates jobs for us? Why are we not doing this? And maybe to provoke you the more, for some of the states that I can claim ownership, originship, if there's anything like that. Cassava is Nigeria is number one in cassava. We produce 61 to 65 million tons every year. We are 35th on export market for cassava. The market value of cassava annually is 2.5 billion. Nigeria is only trading and getting about $41 million. We are bigger than Thailand, but Thailand is getting 1.2 billion from cassava. What is the secret, or what don't we have? Previous speakers mentioned standards, certification, quality, labeling, packaging. My colleague from NAFDAC talked about laboratory analysis they needed to carry out to make decisions, market surveillance, codex standards, and all kinds of issues that we've raised. Now I'm going to be focusing my discussion with you on what I consider pothole on Express Road to Continental Free Trade. Every sweet thing having been said about AfCFTA, there are potholes that we rarely try to answer the questions, why are they there? In Durban this weekend, a group of SMEs came to me. By the way, I'm speaking to you from two different points of view. As the DG of Nigerian National Accreditation System, and from the privileged position of chairing Pan-African Quality Infrastructure, which is the unit or committee that advises African Union on quality infrastructure. So I had this opportunity to interact with SMEs. They said to me, all these pillars of quality that represents Africa, standards, metrology, accreditation, certificate, all of you are speaking grammar that we don't understand. How can you speak the language you understand and have products and services that can rule the market? And that's exactly what my conversation will try to address. So, What is quality? Well, I'm not good at reading all this, but I'll be saying short things that will interest you. When you say something is of quality, everybody likes it, right? And people will easily recognize it. But each other may have their own definition of why it is quality. But in trade, there is an agreement of what the quality is. An agreement. That's where standard comes in. Next slide. And for you to discuss quality as a nation, you need to have the infrastructure that can drive quality in the nation. And so for every country, there's what you call national quality infrastructure. And that's what this slide is about. And national quality infrastructure is supposed to help us, or every nation, have capacity to develop appropriate regulations and standards. You heard that from the NAFDAC representative. You heard that from the NEPC. The NQI is supposed to help us access physical, chemical, and biological standards. That is what SON spends most of their resources and manpower to do, developing standards and adopting foreign standards. It's supposed to provide legal metrology system for the country, weights and measure, so that if you buy a kilogram of meat in the market, you know it's 1 kilo, you are not cheated. NQI for our country is supposed to provide and make available to SMEs inspection, testing, calibration, and certification services. And it has to provide also third-party conformity assessment. Third party, someone else looking at your work and your process, whether you have complied with the standard. And that is part of what laboratories do for you. That's part of what inspection companies do for you, certification companies. And finally, it's supposed to provide a mechanism to ensure that all service providers are competent. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a country, if Nigeria can boast that we can do this right now, no country in the African continent will trade better than us. It's as simple as that. Now, when the guy that presented from the Governors Forum presented, he gave a curve, South Africa and Nigeria sitting under South Africa. We're supposed to be on top. The only difference between us and South Africa is their quality infrastructure is stronger than any other in Africa. The most 5 trading countries in Africa have the best quality infrastructure. Egypt, South Africa, Ethiopia, and just check them, the top countries that are trading. Their quality infrastructure is better than what we have. Next slide. So this is a long definition of what it is, but I'll go to the last point where it says quality infrastructure relies on standardization, metrology, accreditation, and conformity assessment. What our regulators are doing for you and me, and that is why they are regulators, is checking whether you are complying to the policies and technical regulation that the government has put in place. So under this particular list, everyone invited to this panel, even the ones that are not here, work in one of these areas. Standardization, SON for Nigeria. Metrology, SON and Waste and Measure Department of Ministry of Trade and Industry, they share that responsibility. Accreditation, that's my office. Conformity assessment, everyone, NEPC, quarantine service, NAFDAC, SON, all these people perform conformity assessment. Next slide. Now, This is a playing ground trying to describe how all these agencies invited to the table interact on national quality infrastructure. And if you look at it, there is arrow from each one going to either certification, testing, metrology, inspection, accreditation. Everywhere they all play a role. On the top you have the suppliers, service providers and producers, where they relate to each of these. Technical regulation are those standards that our government have decided to make mandatory, that you must achieve it. So you see technical regulation, standards, how they all play, and these offices, SON, NAFDAC, NAQS, NEPC, NINAS, Customs, OPS, how all of us play a role in this. Custom, you see the arrow goes from custom to inspection activities. Next slide. Now, for you to have this system that is working perfectly, you need to have a legal framework that guides all of us on how to behave in this. And that is the place of national quality policy. There is a national quality policy that Mr. President approved in February of this year, and that's like a copy of it shown on the screen there. ECOWAS quality policy was approved by ECOWAS, I think in 2018, so it's a little bit old now, but they led that process. Then Africa quality policy for the continent, and the one that will actually be used for this trade in AfCFTA, was approved by the Council of Ministers last month in their meeting. So African Union have their own quality policy now. What are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to align our national and sub-regional to African Union policy. Next slide. So the core topic I was asked to present is on sanitary and phytosanitary. But this background, it was necessary for you to understand where all this comes in. Our colleague from NAFDAC talked about their role in SPS. So the barrier to trade that you, the SMEs or exporters experience, most of them are very technical. And when you say they are technical, there are things you don't see with your eyes. They are not tariff. They are not customs asking you to pay high levy or whatever. They are about whether you meet requirements of the standard. That's why we call them technical barrier. They are also the ones that are technical regulation standards that the governments of different countries say you must comply. Those are challenges where, things that our exporters, producers, SMEs need to understand. That's why my colleague from NAFDAC was saying you need to know the standard and requirements of the country you are selling your goods to. It's about the technical regulation and their standard. Then sanitary and phytosanitary, like she also mentioned, is about animal health and plant health. So again, we have NAFDAC and NAQS quarantine service taking upper role in managing this process on behalf of this country. Now I say here that quality policy provides all legal and institutional framework that provides seamless operation and cooperation of all quality institutions, reduce overlapping functions, reduce costs to users of quality services, QI services, and enhance our industrialization. It builds confidence in our trade of goods and services. It is the easiest means of assessing our national readiness to trade, either in WTO or AfCFTA. In fact, the AfCFTA agreement was inspired by WTO agreement. Most of the provisions are similar. So what am I saying? If you need to assess whether we are ready to trade now or not, or what we need to do, we should look at our quality infrastructure. Are we doing well? Are we doing well in our standards? Do our SMEs understand all the standards? Are they applying it? is our weights and measure perfect, so that if I am exporting meat from say Kano, and another person is exporting from Ibadan, and they weigh them at the destination country, there will not be variation in the weights. We're not even talking about quality, weights. Okay, is there any third party that have said that what you have produced, you use accredited laboratory, you use accredited certification or accredited inspection? These are core services that our SMEs are struggling to get. Next slide. So on the board you see a display of trade barrier, just graphically saying around the world, if you have to trade, there are things you need to struggle with. Moving goods from one place to the other. But let's zero down to the one that concerns me here. Next slide. Now, every country have their own technical regulation. They have standards, calibration, testing, everything you see on the left for country A, country B have it. So for you to do business, country A and country B, you guys must meet somewhere. And that's where you talk about equivalence. That's where you talk about mutual recognition or mutual agreement. If you don't have this conversation or this agreement, common ground, it will be difficult to trade. If you have a product you think is perfect in your country, and the technical regulation in country B has different provision, they will turn it back. So it is important that as we approach the AfCFTA, as we begin to trade, we should configure our systems to ensure that our SMEs and producers, because they are the ones are carrying this burden, that they are able to access every information, every service that will help them comply with these provisions that are already signed into the agreement. Annex 4, 5, 6, 7 of this AfCFTA agreement clearly says how we play the role on standards, conformity assessment, and accreditation. Those are there. It's not something me and you can shortcut. Next slide. So again, for the standards, what we're doing, I will not be speaking on behalf of the standard, but I say at least a few things there. I know that is necessary to be done for us to trade well. Because we have our own standard, Ghana have their own, every country in Africa have their own. One important thing my office in Kenya, which is the PACI office, is doing is to harmonize country standards on the priority areas where we want to trade. We want to harmonize it so that the standard in Kenya will be the same standard Nigeria is using. Thankfully enough, there's a lot of Nigerian standards that are becoming Continental standard, because SON are playing a very prominent role in that harmonization process that is going on. So standards harmonization will help us get prepared, and that work is ongoing. So that what we are already doing, if the standard Nigeria is using is the same thing other countries using, that removes challenge of not being able to trade with each other. So the activities that the standard body are doing to ensure that we do well, they are developing standard, adopting standard, and harmonizing at regional and continental level. And then they are also agreeing on conformity assessment principles and methods. How are we going to test? What can we see and agree that, our own method and your own is the same, we can accept your certificate? They are also conducting market surveillance like NAFDAC mentioned, and technical regulation. Next slide. So when you follow the standard, obey all the rules in the standard, if you're a producer or SME, that has to be measured whether you achieved it or not. If it is food and drug, NAFDAC will want to measure that. And when they do and you are successful, they will issue you product registration. That's conformity assessment. The same way, if your product is not food or drug related, then SON will have to deal with you. we hope that Nigeria will come to a point where we have private certification bodies, because this has been accommodated in our policy. So some of these certificates here are just examples of certificates that conformity assessment provide. Even up to customs, their custom inspection certificates are issued. I may not know the exact names they call them, but they also have their own certificates, the conformity certificate. Next slide. So I will not belabor SPS. Our lady from NAFDAC has talked about SPS. Like I said, it's about food safety, animal health, and plant health. If you're involved in live animal export, you must comply to the SPS requirement. So for our brothers who are headers and they export heads from one country to the other, which we think will increase in this AfCFTA, you must try to be sure that you comply with the requirements of SPS. And then even if you're bringing in from outside, you must know what they are. Next slide. Well, this is the same pictorial representation. NAFDAC talked about Codex, which is the standard they use in doing assessing most of the work they do. There are IPPC, NAQS uses IPPC. I think in some cases NAFDAC may also use those standards. And then, so there are so many standards, the national standards, the continental standards that we need to meet. The important message is, for every business you're doing, there is a standard for it. If there is none, SON will help you develop a standard. You work with stakeholders to develop one. So you need to find out, what is the standard for this my business? Where can I find it? So what you benefit by complying with the SPS is that increases your market. You can now go where your product were not going before. It will increase, however, it will increase cost of production, because you have to pay for all those certifications. We are hoping that we'll come to a point where SMEs do not pay so much for these services. From this slide going forward, I'm only highlighting those safety standards that are required of producers. Some of them, our SMEs are not aware until they have problems. That beans is rejected, yam is rejected. Some of them are because they did not meet the food safety standards that are set. But again, the message is there are food safety standards. If you're dealing with food, you have to figure it out. Now, as state representatives and as those who are bringing up SMEs, business incubation, business development, enterprise development, whichever name you call it in your state, I think one area that you need to begin to look at when you're doing them is actually teaching them what the quality infrastructure that supports the business. They may get the loan and waste the money because they don't understand all this one. But if you educate them on this one, the money will be used rightfully and then they can pay back. Next slide. And again, it's SPS. Keep going. NAFDAC for drugs and most of other products uses GMP standards, and these are all what I'm trying to describe here. Go ahead. Then for farmers, well, I know there's a lot of states which their mainstay here are farmers. There's global gap discussion. I'm sure many of you either talking about it or doing something about it. I know that Mr. Francis, who is the Secretary of the National Action Committee for AfCFTA, we've talked a lot about how we can intervene on global gap. And global gap looks at the standard and things you need to do from clearing the farm, planting, harvesting, to the point where it is on somebody's table as food. That's what the global gap is. And the reason why we can't export most of the things we have is because we do not have this verifiable chain of global gap compliance. It is something we're looking up to Minister of Agri and SON leadership in this, so that we can begin to help our farmers gain entrance into the international market or after. I'm sure that we are going to be doing this very soon. So we can, we can go on and on. I know we don't have much time. Next slide. Next slide. So the point, the whole story is for us to trade, you must comply. There is no I am in international market. I know you, you don't know me. There is none. You have to comply. So it's compliance to standard, regulations, policy, and everything is done in transparent manner. And I hope that investment that states will do in terms of business development will be in helping the SMEs and small businesses understand this. Another area where they have challenges is on labeling and packaging. For every product requires specific or a kind of approved guideline for labeling and packaging. We need to ensure that our SMEs understand each of these. This is just a process that you go through to conform to what we're saying. And when we have all this done, there is kind of joy you see when your products have all these certification already done. And on the certificates, it gives extra joy that you can go into the international market knowing very well that it will not be rejected. Since we have question and answer session, I think what I will do is pause and I will leave you with a personal message. And that my personal message is that as people's representatives, we all have opportunity and we all have that chance now to make a difference. Never underrate whatever office you occupy, but I think working together, federal government can't do all this alone. So I thank you for listening and hopefully we interact more during the question and answer session.